right, my loves, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Soul Love. I'm Mafalda. Welcome if it's your first time here. On this channel, I dive deep into the twin flame phenomenon and I offer guidance and insight to hopefully assist you on your journey and help you gain clarity on this wild, wild path that is the twin flame awakening. And this is part 3 of a shadow work series that I'm doing for Monadic twin flames. So if you'd like to check out parts 1 and 2 before watching this one, I'll drop the links to those videos in the description box below. So let's delve even deeper. We started to talk about what shadow work looks like specifically for twin flames and for monadic twin flames in the previous video. And in this video, we're going to start looking at the multi-layered aspect of shadow work for monadic twin flames. Specifically, I briefly mentioned it in the previous video, but today I'm going to really get into it. So we spoke about the mechanics of the dynamic when it comes to shadow work. So the fact that all our shadow gets pushed out into the field upon soul recognition, and we embark on this journey of alchemy, of subconscious reprogramming, of bringing loving awareness to all the distortion and misalignment that we'd been carrying in our field, a lot of the times unconsciously, without being aware of it, even if we had already done a lot of healing work and spiritual work prior to becoming aware that we were a part of a twin flame dynamic. And I was talking about the fact that it feels relentless because in order to stabilize and anchor monadic level awareness into a human vessel, we really need to have gone through a profound purification process for that to even be possible. Because we're talking about 5D to 12D frequencies, and the monad level would be the 7th to the 9th dimension. And here I'm talking about states of consciousness, not physical realms. So I'm talking about dimensions in that manner, which is a level, the 7th to the 9th, that is beyond personal story. So you can only imagine, or most likely if you are a monadic twin, you'll know from experience, as I do, how much there is to clear to authentically and sustainably be able to anchor that level of vibrational frequency into our human vessel. So across all dimensions, not just when it comes to the energy body or the spiritual body, but aligning all of the bodies. So that is a significant amount of trauma, wounding, subconscious patterning to get through. And I will be making a video about those dimensional frequencies, but I just wanted to give you a very, very, very quick overview so that you can understand why the stakes are so high at the monadic level and why there is just so much. It feels very multi-dimensional because it is. So let's uncover these layers that I've been talking about. So I outlined in the previous video how shadow work is done when we are addressing, let's say, childhood trauma or childhood wounding or subconscious patterning that pertains to this life, this particular incarnation. Well, when we get to the monadic level, the distortion, the trauma, the karmic debris, it really doesn't only pertain to this lifetime. We're talking about multiple lifetimes, and we're also talking about galactic timelines, galactic trauma, often for many twins. And so we're not just becoming aware that perhaps we feel unworthy of love because throughout our childhood we were not modeled or mirrored true unconditional love by our caregivers. It's also realizing that perhaps we carry wounds of silencing, abandonment, rejection, torture, betrayal from all these other lifetimes that include our twin, and from incarnations prior to even coming to Earth. So there's a lot of it. Now, of course, as I've mentioned many times before, these processes aren't linear. So it's not like you're uncovering trauma from past life in a sequential or in a sequential manner. You might get flashes, you might get downloads through triggers in your daily life, which of course are going to span all the areas of your life, not just your interactions with your twin, but your family, your friends, your work, your finances, your health, your lifestyle, where you live, etc. As this is happening, maybe certain situations triggering encounters that you may have on the journey will actually start to make you aware that perhaps a certain dynamic, a certain loop, a certain entanglement, a certain limiting belief, certain emotions that are stored actually come from deeper places. Now, throughout this process, you may have conscious awareness that you're actually healing past life trauma or galactic trauma or not. And that's totally fine. That's totally okay. Why? Because the idea here isn't to get stuck in the mind again, trying to fix or figure out the storylines of the trauma or the wound or the pattern or the loop in question. We just need to transmute and alchemize the distortion into alignment, into power, into love. And we don't actually need to know the details for that to happen. But you may receive them. Again, to each their own. Each journey is very, very unique, but that may happen. And I find that it's important to talk about it, or at least to name it, for those who do go through that type of experience and awakening, so that they know that it is absolutely normal. It can be quite confusing because you may be receiving downloads or information from different timelines, different lifetimes, different situations, right? And of course, you're susceptible to interference as well. So that may be playing a role. So it's important to say that. Of course, it's just to validate your experience, not to encourage you to get too caught up in the stories or in trying to fix it. So my biggest recommendation when it comes to this particular aspect of shadow work for monadic twin flames is to trust. I started to look into past life trauma well past the time when, or way after I had already embarked on a spiritual journey. And the reason was that it wasn't the time yet. I wasn't ready for it yet. And so the way I see this is I trust that whatever I need to know is revealed in the exact moments that I need to know it and to the extent that I need to know. So I trust the divine, and I always bring it back to this connection to source consciousness and full trust and surrender to the journey. So if I need to find out about a particular aspect or detail of a certain life or a certain timeline that's going to be helpful to this particular situation that I'm in now, or it's going to help me choose differently to exit that karmic loop, then that's why I know, right? And if I don't, I don't. So the alchemical process doesn't actually need to involve the mind. So that's just a quick recommendation. But back to the multi-layered nature of shadow work for monadic twin flames. So you can see how the stakes are higher and higher. So as you're going through this process, working with what's showing up, of course, you can be proactive, but always in flow or in communion with your feedback loop of reality. So what's coming up in your field, in your life, are the exact aspects that you need to pay attention to, right? Or aspects of wounds or trauma or patterns that you need to pay attention. So as you're working through this process and perhaps gaining multi-dimensional awareness of yourself, of the journey, perhaps downloading soul memory, starting to gain access to higher vibrational frequencies or insight, as this is happening, you are also expanding the impact of the healing work that you're doing. So at the monadic level, we're really not just doing personal healing. And not even just ancestral. So again, this really hopefully will explain why it's so relentless, why shadow work is so relentless at the monadic level. Because let's say you have a mother wound in this life because your mother was negligent, she wasn't emotionally available, she parentified you, whatever the reasons, right? And you've done all this work, all this inner work. You've sat with the grief of not having a mother in the real sense of the word. You've sat with all the guilt and the shame that she made you feel. For making you responsible for her life and her well-being and her emotional stability. So let's say you have that wound. And as I was saying, you've done all this inner work to heal. And then it comes back around on the monadic journey, not once, not twice, but let's say multiple times. What you will notice is that, of course, healing works in a spiral. You keep coming back to the same wounds and shedding more layers of that wound and gaining deeper insight and clarity into what that represents for you, or what you're clearing, what the purpose of that is in any given moment, right? As a spiral. Now, on the monadic journey, that spiral effect, of course, is the same. But as you're going deeper and as you're coming across the same wound from different angles, deeper, let's say it's the mother wound, let's stick with that example that I was giving you. At some point, you'll notice that you're coming back to the wound, but the clearing and the healing that you're doing isn't just personal. It's not even just ancestral. You start to work at the collective and planetary levels. And what does this mean? This can be conscious or unconscious. This isn't something you don't need to go take a course to do this. This is what naturally awakens in you as a twin flame. Of course, the natural abilities, spiritual gifts and abilities to do this type of work, which this is inherent, of course, and it starts to come as you go through the process, the more you shed. So let's take that maternal wound. So when you're doing clearing, or for example, when you are sitting with that grief or sitting with that shame, or learning how to set boundaries with your mother, for example, in the 3D, in the physical realm, if she's in your life, or deciding to go no contact, whatever it is that you're doing to heal or to realign in that relationship in your life, you'll notice that you're not just doing it personally and ancestrally, of course, but you're actually contributing to the restoration of the original maternal grids on planet Earth. So the maternal inversion is a massive, massive distortion. And it's not just you, it's not just me, it's not just your friend, it's not just the person you met. It's widespread. It's at the level of humanity. So monadic twins are really doing this level of work, and that's why we do grid work. That's why our shadow work carries planetary level impact. And so you will notice that as you're going through the process, you'll notice that you're starting to gain more and more and more awareness of the implications of every step that you take, every belief that you reprogram, every emotion that you feel and process, right? You will also notice that through your work, you may also be collapsing entire karmic grids and inversions. And so we're really dealing with archetypal level healing here. So it's the archetype of the mother, or it's the archetype of the father, or it's the archetype of the daughter, of course. And so because we're becoming energetic masters throughout this journey in practice, this really isn't just about studying. It's a whole other level. You learn to work with energy in practice day in and day out. And so as you're becoming this energy master and you're alchemizing, really your field is starting to radiate more truth, more love, more awareness, more compassion. And that goes into the earth, into the ley lines, and into the energetic grids that affect so many people. So the shift in vibrational frequency of one twin will affect so many more people through the people you come into contact with, but also just energetically and vibrationally. And that's why so many twins get drawn to certain places to do grid work, and your intuition starts to get very refined on the journey. And then you know that by taking a certain action or doing a certain thing, you're helping to clear for entire families, entire portions of the collective. And the beautiful thing is that you may even get confirmation of the impact of your work, because you will see the field reorganizing. Now, I'm not saying that suddenly you start living in fantasy land and everything is perfect, but you will start to realize that your energetic and spiritual work is actually assisting the collective. And those confirmations may come in a variety of different ways. So I hope that you're starting to understand what's at stake here, what's at play here, why the monadic journey is so complex, and shadow work for monadic twins is so multi-layered, right? You see all that's at play here. Now, it's important to not get caught up in the stories, as I was saying, and really bringing it, and it's important to really bring it back to a place of trust and surrender, remembering who you are at the soul level is what's happening, really, and you're being aligned with your mission, with your purpose. And that's not a linear process. That's not something that we can predict in terms of timelines. You can look at energy patterns and waves, but there are no guarantees in life. And that's part of the beauty of it. That's part of the journey of it. And as you progress, you tend to start finding joy and fulfillment in walking the path itself, in becoming more of who you are, in embodying more love, in being more compassionate, in being of service to humanity. So, of course, it is challenging, but so rewarding at the same time to come back to God within ourselves, to find peace, to find a place of neutrality, that whatever's happening externally, you know who you are, and you become unshakable, not because you're cold, not because you're numb, but because you're empowered and because you're anchored in gnosis, in the knowing of who you are and of love itself. So before I wrap this one up, I also do want to make a reference to something I've been asked a lot about, this whole split soul versus monadic, how to tell which one you are. And I just wanted to leave a quick piece of advice to any of you that may be struggling with this or confused about it. My recommendation is always to ask directly. Ask for divine revelation. Ask God directly. If you're confused about this, you are being invited to come into deeper knowing and to trust more of your intuition, because the reality is you will know inside of your heart which one you are. It is when we're trying to figure out through the mind, through a list, a checklist, or some mental framework, That's not how it goes. This is soul resonance. This is soul memory. You know in your heart who you are. Now, if for whatever reason you're going through a period of doubt and you just don't have the clarity, my recommendation is, of course, ask for revelation. That will deepen your connection to God. Book a session with somebody that you trust to try and get confirmation. There are psychics and twin flame coaches that do this type of check if you'd like that. Or the third option would be to just let it go. You will know when the time is right. And if there's one thing that advanced divine feminines will for sure agree with, is that this is a divinely orchestrated, magical journey. As much as it's grounded in reality, and I'm not saying let's go into wishful thinking or fantasy land, but this is a magical, divinely orchestrated journey. So there's nothing wrong with not knowing if that's where you're at. You're being asked to drop it and let it go and come back to it from a place of more sovereignty, of course, because, and I'll leave it at this. This is a journey of emancipating ourselves out of victim consciousness. When we are dependent on external sources to confirm our knowing of who we are, then we are still in some level of victim consciousness. And this isn't about victim blaming. This is about a level of consciousness, literally. So it is absolutely recommended and beneficial to ask for help, to seek assistance from the outside, but you need to check in first. Where is it coming from? Are you wanting a solution to fix your problem? Are you wanting this person on the outside to validate what you're not able to come into yourself? Because then the minute that person's not there anymore, you're going to go back into doubt and lack of clarity. So working through this doubt and lack of clarity is absolutely part of the initiation of the monadic twin flame journey, or of a twin flame journey in general. It's an initiation so that you learn to trust yourself, that you learn to trust your intuition, that sometimes you think that it's one thing and then you get proven wrong, and then you're able to look at the situation and realize, oh, okay, I got it wrong. And the reason why was that I followed my mind rather than my intuition. So what does it feel like when it's my intuition nudging me? What does it feel like when it's my mind or my ego trying to define or determine or put things into labels or boxes? So I do hope that this helps you. Of course, if you are seeking guidance and further assistance and you want to work with me one-to-one, you're absolutely welcome to do that. My website is below, as is my bookings page, so you can look into that, check out my offerings and services, and see if there's anything that is calling your name. Of course, I am more than happy to assist twins on their journey. And if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe to this channel to help me get the message across, and so that the community continues to grow. I really, really appreciate it. And I just thank you so much for all your lovely, lovely comments and kind words. It's just an incredible journey, truly, of returning to oneself and realizing that divine union really starts within. And that's it. Well, I'm excited and inspired to keep going. Do let me know in the comments section if you resonate with the information and the teachings that I've been sharing. And I send you all so, so, so much love, a big, big hug, and I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for watching and for being here.